War for the Planet of the Apes is the third movie in this prequel reboot series of Planet of the Apes films, and as far as I know, the conclusive chapter in this trilogy. Now, I'm a big fan of both Rise and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I think both those movies are fantastic, so naturally, I went into War for the Planet of the Apes very excited. But at the same time, the question that I asked myself is, how much better is this going to be as a movie compared to the other two? Because I thought Rise was excellent, and I thought Dawn was only that much better. And when you have a movie that's just that great, like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, you sit there and you're just like, a third movie, there's no chance it can improve upon that. So I went into War for the Planet of the Apes expecting a really good movie for sure, but probably not one that's going to be better than Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Now, there's a reason that I get my spoiler talks for movies up a little bit later than maybe other YouTube movie critics do. And that's for a couple reasons. Because one, I want to give my subscribers and the people who watch my videos the chance to see the movie. That's why I upload it definitely past the weekend, so I feel they've had enough time to see it. That way when they see I've uploaded a video, they can watch it. And number two is because when I walk out of a movie, I want to have a few days to really think about it. To really wonder to myself, alright, was it as good or as bad as I thought it was as I was walking out of the movie theater? As I continued to think about it, did I love it even more? Did I hate it even more? Because that way, when I get onto camera and I really talk about a movie, I know what I'm saying is something that I really do truly feel in my heart. And that is why I truly mean it when I say to you guys right now, War for the Planet of the Apes is one of the best conclusions to a trilogy ever. This movie completely surpassed the expectations I had for it. It ended up being better than Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. It is the best movie in this trilogy. I think this movie is a masterpiece. After the very first scene in the movie, I knew I was in for something special. I love the opening text that they use where they really highlight the words Rise and Dawn as preludes to the other movies. And these messages kind of clue you in a little bit how there's been this colonel that's been sending these human soldiers to hunt down any apes they can find. And then we get this really intense action scene between these human soldiers and Caesar's apes. And what's great about this action scene is it doesn't take the route that a lot of sci-fi action scenes usually take in movies, as in, it's not really used to be a fun, exciting, in the, you know, really enjoyable factor, if you will. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I think you guys get what I mean. This action scene is a really gritty, intense, very on your edge kind of action scene, because it really does feel like the kind of battles that take place in war. This scene immediately makes you see that there is clearly a war between the humans and the apes. Eventually, Caesar captures a few of the human soldiers. They see him and they're just like, oh my god, you're Caesar. And what I love seeing in this movie is this is the first time where Caesar talks pretty much throughout the whole movie. I mean, there are a couple moments he still uses sign languages with some of the apes who can't talk yet, but now you clearly see Caesar has understood how to talk. He gets it now. He can speak. He doesn't hold it back. He will talk to anybody. And he tries to tell the humans, he's like, I did not start this war. Koba started this war, and I killed Koba. The apes fight only to survive. We don't want a war. We want peace with you humans. What I also really love that this movie showed is that there are some apes, like this gorilla named Red, that are serving the humans because they were followers of Koba, and they feared returning to Caesar after Koba's demise because they were afraid how Caesar would react to them, how he would treat them. So ultimately, out of their own fear, and because they do believe that humans will destroy all the apes, and they just want to survive, they allied with the humans. I like that this movie showed that fear that's in some of these apes. They're just like, no, the humans are gonna kill us all. We want to survive. We're not gonna go down with the ship. We're gonna work with them. But Caesar, in this moment, he looks at the humans and he's like, alright, you know what? I'm gonna send you back to your colonel so you can show him, hey, I showed you mercy, we're not savages, and maybe, just maybe, we can finally have peace. And later on that night, Caesar regroups with his tribe. He regroups with his wife Cornelia and their sons Blue Eyes and Cornelius. Blue Eyes has discovered this new land that they can all go to where they'll be far away from humans. They can finally live their lives in peace. But later on that night, the colonel shows up with more of his soldiers, and the colonel personally murders Cornelia and blue eyes. And that moment, of course, has officially pushed Caesar to the breaking point. He now has no interest in peace. In his mind, he's like, alright, you want a fucking war? I'll give you a fucking war. He puts Cornelius into the care of Lake, who was Blue Eyes' mate, and he tells all the apes, it's like, alright, you all make your way to that desert, you make it to safety, I'm gonna go kill the Colonel because he needs to die because of what he did to me and my family. But Caesar, of course, he doesn't go on this journey alone. He is accompanied by Maurice, Rocket, and this gorilla named Luca. Because Maurice, in particular, sees in Caesar, it's like, you're going after this guy for revenge, out of hatred, out of anger. It's something that Koba would do. I don't want to see you turn into Koba. I love that these apes tagged along because you really do see the loyalty that they have for Caesar. And also in the fact that throughout this journey, you know, Caesar is having some flashbacks and some visions of Koba that is making him fear that he is going to turn into an ape like Koba. Then later on in their journey, they come across this abandoned home where they discover this young girl who does not have the ability to speak. You know, she tries to talk with them, but she just can't. And because they murdered who I believe was their father because he was intending to kill them, Maurice is telling Caesar, it's like, we can't leave her here. She will die. Our war's not with her. We can't abandon her. We have to bring her with us. And Caesar's like, yeah, you're right. All right, she can come along. And this little girl was great in this movie. I mean, obviously she didn't talk. She didn't do a whole lot. But she really brought a lot in this movie in seeing this kind of father-daughter of sorts relationship that she develops with Maurice. You know, how Maurice is, you know, teaching her how to sign, teaching her how to be, you know, one of them. It provided this nice, sweet little side story to this movie, and it really does show that the apes really don't have a hatred towards humans. They just want to survive. They're not going to kill this little girl just because she's a human. They see her, and they're just like, she needs help. We have to bring her with us. But as they continue to make their journey, Caesar and the apes, they discover these 3 bodies of dead humans. But it turns out one of them is not necessarily dead. He's just severely wounded. He's going to die. But before this human dies, you know, Caesar tries to communicate with him, but much like this little girl, this guy also can't speak, which really has the apes starting to wonder. It's like, okay, we have now run into 2 humans that just can't speak with us. What is going on? I'll get back to that in a minute though, because first we gotta get to Bad Ape. Now this was an area that I was a little skeptical towards because I saw his character in the trailers and I thought he was gonna be maybe a seasoned, wise ape just because of the way he talked. How he said like, oh, human gets sick, then ape gets smart, all dead now, long time. But also appeared in the trailers like he was gonna maybe be comic relief or an attempt at comic relief, and had me thinking, oh boy, I really hope he doesn't turn into an annoying character. Please be good comic relief. Thankfully though, he is comic relief as it should be done. He delivers some funny lines, some funny moments. He brought a lot of, I won't say humor, but a lot of lightheartedness into a movie that's very dark and very, you know, gritty because it's about war. In the end, he was a really good character, and I'm glad he was in the movie. So finally, the group does make it to the military facility where the Colonel supposedly is, and at this point, after Luca gets shot by members of the Alpha Omega army, Caesar decides, alright, Maurice, Rocket, you need to take the girl. You need to go meet with the other apes. I'm not letting anyone else die on my watch. I'm going in there and I'm finishing this alone. But as he gets into the facility, he discovers that his tribe, his clan, they've already been captured by this military, and the Colonel is forcing them to work in like this sort of concentration camp to build this wall. He's denying them food or water. You know, he's enslaving them. And finally we get to the moment when Caesar confronts the Colonel, who's played by Woody Harrelson. I gotta tell you, Woody Harrelson, I mean, he's one of my favorite actors anyway, but he fucking kills it in this role. I didn't really know if I would see Woody Harrelson as this real antagonistic, iron-fisted military leader who's just a dick, but he played it awesome in this movie. And it's when he and Caesar are finally talking to each other, you really do see the fear that ultimately exists in Woody Harrelson. You know, he tells him, it's like, you are smart as hell, you're stronger than we are. Nature says eventually, somewhere down the line, even if you do want peace, you're gonna replace us. That is how it has always worked in the history of the world, and it will continue to happen that way. He also reveals to Caesar that the simian flu has now mutated, and it is now affecting those who survived it by making them mute and making making them a bit more primitive. It's ultimately like, while the simian flu allowed apes to evolve, it's causing humans to de-evolve. And that has Woody Harrelson just terrified. He first started to see the signs in his own son, and in that moment he's like, I'm gonna have to kill my son because I can't let this simian flu, you know, go out to other humans. You know, we have to survive, we have to stay strong, we have to stay superior. So as a result, he has now ordered his soldiers to go out there, and anyone who is infected with the simian flu, can't talk, you know, is slowly becoming primitive, kill them. And that's why he's having the apes build this wall, because there's this military that's coming against the colonel and his forces, because they believe, you know, medicine can still be used to find a cure to the flu. So that's why he wants this wall built, so his forces will be able to keep the, you know, rival military out. You really see the fear and the motives in the colonel, and I love that the movie did that. So after that, the colonel just throws Caesar in with the rest of the apes, and the rest of the apes, they're kind of being a little standoffish and a little cold towards Caesar, because he did, in a way, kind of abandon them. The moment that really broke my heart, though, is you see Caesar, he's in with the adults, and the young apes are in the pen across from them, and you see Cornelius, you know, he's begging for his father, he's calling out for help, and Caesar can't do anything. It's a moment that has you sitting there like, Caesar has officially hit his lowest low. So now the military has basically had Caesar chained up to this pole while all the other apes are being forced to work, but, you know, they refuse to see Caesar like that because, you know, they stand by him as their leader. So to make an example, the colonel shoots one of the apes, he puts a gun to Caesar's forehead, and he tells him, he's like, hey, I'm gonna count to 5, if they don't start working, I'm gonna kill you. And the whole time, Caesar's just like, just give them food and water. He's like, 5, 4, 3. And eventually Lake stands up and she's like, hey, look, it's okay. We're working again. You know, everyone back to work. We're fine. We're good. We'll keep going. Right there, the colonel's a fucking prick, and you continue to see the dying loyalty that these apes have towards Caesar. But at the same time, the little girl, along with Maurice, Bad Ape, and Rocket, they've been able to discover this sort of underground tunnel that is beneath the military's facility, and they realize, hey, maybe there's a chance we can still free Caesar and the rest of the apes. So Rocket allows himself to be captured, so he is thrown in with the rest of the apes, and he tells Caesar, it's like, it's okay, we have a plan. Apes together strong. Because what Rocket very wisely decides to do is he digs within the cell so that underneath, Maurice, the little girl who has now been named Nova, and Bad Ape can dig beneath that to create a tunnel for the apes to escape into. Well, not really for the apes to escape, for Bad Ape and Maurice to break into the cell so they can free the adults from within, so the adults can then free the kids, and now the apes can finally get out of the military facility. Just in the nick of time too, because now the opposing military is officially stormed in, and with the wall not officially built, the military is now under attack by its enemy. But Caesar tells Maurice, he's like, get everyone to safety. I still have to face the colonel because I accept it. I am a bit like Koba in the sense, but I cannot live my life without giving my son and my wife the justice that they need. I need to go end this. So he goes to confront the colonel, and he discovers in this moment that the colonel has picked up the simian flu, and as a result, now he can't talk. And, you know, Caesar's there, armed with a gun. He was ready to kill the colonel, and the colonel just takes the gun, you know, has Caesar point the gun at his forehead as a means to just, you know, kill me. The colonel at this point is like, this is a fate worse than death. I don't want to live this. Go ahead. Shoot me. End my life, avenge your family. But Caesar, he refuses to do that because he sees with the colonel, it's like, you know what, in your mind, you're now living a fate worse than death. I'm gonna leave you with that. But the colonel, he refuses to live that way, so he takes the gun himself and he commits suicide with it. So now with that, Caesar's trying to get the fuck out of the facility, but he can't do that because, you know, war's just happening all around him. He's just trying to fucking survive at this point. But he also wants to make a statement towards the military, so at one point he throws some grenades at this sort of gasoline truck, which kills a bunch of soldiers. But then comes one moment, he once again is confronted by one of the soldiers that he had spared in the beginning of this movie, and this soldier shoots Caesar with his crossbow. This really badly worn Caesar, this soldier's now ready to finish Caesar off. And then Red, you know, the gorilla that's allied with the humans, he sees Caesar in trouble, and after communicating with Caesar while he's been in this concentration camp, he begins to realize, you know what, I am an ape, I'm no donkey, I do not work with the humans. He decides to take a grenade launcher, some kind of thing like that. Was it a rocket launcher? I don't know. It was a really powerful gun. And Red shoots the guy that was trying to kill Caesar, which redeems himself, but not before the soldier that Red was working with shoots Red and kills him. And because of the big explosion that Caesar caused after Red died, most of this military is now wiped out from it, which now causes the opposing military to start celebrating. But the second they see the apes, they now turn their attention to them. They're ready to kill them. But because of the war and the explosions that have happened, now an avalanche starts coming down, which just wipes out this military. And Caesar's just running like a bat out of the hell, trying to avoid the avalanche as much as he can, running through the woods, climbing trees. Eventually, he's just able to hold on to one tree for dear life as the avalanche stops. And thankfully, the rest of the apes were also able to survive it. They were able to get up in the trees as well. Now they finally get to the desert where they know they have resources. They have everything they need to live in peace with Nova with them. But it's at this point Caesar reveals to Maurice that the wound he suffered from the soldier that shot him with a crossbow, it's really, really bad. Caesar's going to die from it. And this scene's just so tough to watch because, you know, Maurice, he sees this is happening to Caesar. He starts crying, he's getting emotional, and he tells Caesar, just before Caesar dies, he's like, your son will know what you did for us and what you stood for. And then this movie ends after those awesome words for Maurice, with Caesar dying from his wounds. It's like, oh my god, who did not get teary-eyed from seeing that? I know I did, like, fuck. And while that ending absolutely made me sad and made me upset, I totally understand why it happened because it really is the way this trilogy should end. You know, this Planet of Apes, it started with Caesar's story arc, and it makes sense that this trilogy, this story of the Planet of the Apes, it should end with Caesar. So all in all, War for the Planet of the Apes was an incredible, amazing movie. Andy Serkis once again just crushes it as Caesar. Caesar shows us all that he's one of the greatest movie characters ever. He's one of the greatest leaders in movie history. I love seeing that his purpose is to avenge his family. He didn't want a war, he didn't want conflict, but he was driven to it. All the other characters in this movie were great. I love seeing that the apes are willing to die for Caesar because of their great loyalty to him. Nova was a really great human character for this movie. Woody Harrelson as the Colonel was an awesome villain. I loved seeing his motives. I understood his motives because he's acting out of fear and he's so terrified of what the planet will eventually become if the humans do not destroy the apes. That ape ended up being really good comic relief and a really good character for this movie. The story was fantastic. The action is really gritty and intense. It really did feel like a war. The ending of this movie was just perfect. I really can't think of a better ending, not just for this movie, but for this trilogy. And in the end, War for the Planet of the Apes was an epic conclusion to one of the greatest film trilogies of all time. Seriously though, how many trilogies are out there where not only are all three movies awesome, but each one only gets better? I mean, really, maybe the Bourne trilogy, but I can't think of many more. This will be remembered as one of the greatest film trilogies of all time. War for the Planet of the Apes, one of the best movies I've seen this year. It might honestly be the best movie I've seen this year. I'll have to think more about that. I'm sure I'll have an answer when my top 10 list gets here. But for now, all I can do is speak this movie's praises because I really, really loved it, and I'm so happy it became even more than what I wanted it to be. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.